Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. NFL free agency is raging, and my name is Patrick Daugherty, and I'm here to talk about it with my friend and co-host Denny Carter. All the names have signed, and they all did it in the first hour on Monday, Denny.
Amazing.
And then Tuesday,
Sunday night even.
Yeah, Tuesday night we're already down some defensive tackle I've never heard of. I mean, first off, I've heard of him. Don't even say I haven't heard of a single defensive tackle in the entire league. Obviously, I've heard of him. But lots of defensive tackles signing 3-year deals on Tuesday. It's because quarterbacks like Sam Darnold were signing with the Seahawks on Monday, Davante Adams to the Rams on Sunday, DK Metcalf, maybe the biggest name, if not necessarily the most important name, to the Steelers via trade on Sunday evening. Justin Fields to the Jets, Geno Smith to the Raiders last week, which we have not gotten to yet on this show, and Najee Harris to the Chargers with confusing contract numbers. Chris Godwin supposedly taking $20 million less, Denny, to return to Tampa Bay. The New England Patriots down to stunningly horrific. The Colts down stunningly horrific too. Daniel Jones there to, compete with Anthony Richardson or something. Kenny Pickett. Oh, man, it's getting harder to kind of say these. Kenny Pickett to the Browns.
Now we're cooking.
Yeah, now we're really cooking sicko mode. Elijah Mitchell, Chiefs. Aaron Jones, Vikings. We're going to get to all that if we have time. But Denny, my earliest macro takeaway from free agency is that we are entering the absolute golden age of the number 3 receiver. There's never been a better time to be Diami Brown, Denny. Tell the folks about it.
If you can function as a wide receiver 3 or 4 in an NFL offense, you get $10 million. It's that simple. And a guy like Diami Brown, who was basically invisible in the Washington offense for 3 whole years, 3.8 years. And then
3.8 years, I had him in Dynasty, didn't he?
Right. He emerged for 3 postseason games ahead of his contract year, or ahead of being a free agent this offseason. And boy, did he deliver, because he had more receptions and more receiving yards, Pat, than anybody except for Xavier Worthy in the postseason. So he explodes.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah. He parlays that into a pretty nice little deal with Jacksonville. He tricked him. He got him again, fell for it again, Jags. And so now he's a wide receiver 2 there.
Diami Brown, Tutu Atwell, of course, kind of the gold standard here. Josh Palmer, Darius Slayton, a 3-year, $36 million deal with the friggin' Giants. They've been on the team 25 years, and they've never once thrown him the ball.
They can't stand this guy. There's so much friction between Slayton and every coach, the rotating cast of coaches that come in and out of New York, that I have no idea how he's still on the team. They've been talking about trading him for 4 years now. When reporters are like, "Hey, what about Slayton? You think he's going to get on the field more?" The coaches are all, "I've never heard of him. Sorry, you're going to have to speak up."
If you turn on ESPN News, they'll be showing an old 30 for 30 where they're interviewing Bill Parcells. They're like, "Tuna, least favorite player in Giants history." Well, I didn't coach him, but Darius Slayton, by far, my least favorite. Wow, it seems kind of.
And now he's a lifelong Giant.
I know. It's make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Gotcha. And it's a good contract. I just don't understand. I
don't understand either.
I was sure. I would have bet a ridiculous sum of money that he would end up elsewhere, and
I would have too.
Turns out I would have been broke.
Slayton and Josh Palmer are the kind of sicko players. Josh Palmer to the Bills that will probably be coming up all year. The best of all guys might even start talking about Mac Hollins, the Patriots. The world is ready for that.
No.
Everyone is talking about Sam Darnold to the Seahawks, kind of wondering what it all means. Like, is Sam Darnold actually good? I mean, I'm not even saying this is a joke. We just really don't know. Mm-hmm. Is he better than Geno Smith? Jury is very much out on that. Seattle clearly thinks he's better than Geno Smith. Can he thrive without a loaded supporting cast? The Seahawks had depth at receiver last year. Tyler Lockett was declining. DK Metcalf wasn't happy. They're both gone. Now it's just JSN. He does have Clint Kubiak, so I guess he's in on this Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, Denny. Kubiak, part of that coaching tree via many different avenues. But is this a good outcome for Sam Darnold? He's going from a dome to really poor weather in Seattle. Is it a neutral outcome? Is it a bad outcome? What are our initial thoughts on the big domino of free agency, apparently, Sam Darnold ending up in Seattle?
Well, we don't know if the Seahawks are going to make a move to maybe invest heavily at wide receiver in the draft, maybe trade up and grab someone to go along with JSN. right now it's not looking great because Jake Bobo is their wide receiver 2 at the moment. That can't hold.
Sure. D. Eskridge, is he still around? He's not.
I think he is. He's a special teamer, but I guess he could be forced into action.
I don't think he's on the Seahawks anymore, but I sorry to side.
It's hard. Well, there's no way to know.
Literally
is what we're getting at. Yeah. So Darnold, weird thing about Darnold is that last year, and I think this actually shows how quarterback friendly the Kevin O'Connell system was for Sam Darnold and how ideal it was. Basically, I'm not going to bore you guys with the stats. He was the best quarterback in the league against the blitz, not pressure, but the blitz. Okay. So when teams sent extra players to rush him, he carved up defenses. And I think that has to do with play design. I think it has to do with kind of the easy peasy sort of system that he was in. It has to do with Justin Jefferson, perhaps. Okay. Against pressure, one of the worst. And that is too similar. I think you said this a long time ago, months ago. That's too similar to the struggles that we remember from Sam Darnold in New York with the Jets. And so I see no reason why against, behind a pretty bad Seahawks offensive line, why that won't come, rear its ugly head in 2025.
Because that's one of the main talking points we keep hearing from the Geno Mafia. And boy, does the Geno Smith Mafia run deep. It's like, well, I'd like to see you not regress behind this offensive line. And Geno is actually Johnny Unitas when you adjust for the offensive line.
If you throw out Geno's bad plays, he's good.
So the blitz and pressure thing, maybe that's the statistical randomness too, Denny. Because the pressure thing, by the end of the year, it was almost like Sam Darnold had put his Jets uniform back on. Like it was painful to watch in those 2 biggest games of the year, and that is just such a concern. And then, look, Clint Kubiak, I guess, is maybe a fine offensive coordinator. Jury very much out after a really weird year in New Orleans. JSN is a good receiver. Is he a true bona fide number 1 receiver? Just not in the dome. There's just in a really he was in a competitive division last year, Sam Darnold, but a division where you have 6 really difficult division games. It just seems like the Sam Darnold roller coaster has probably peaked, is now heading to a steep decline again, with the caveat. So all the focus with the coaching and Sam Darnold will focus on Clint Kubiak since he's the play caller. I guess the caveat could be, what if Mike McDonald is a special head coach? And Mike McDonald, he's seizing the day. He didn't wait around to fire Ryan Grubb. He clearly has a vision for the team. He's making, in tandem with the front office, he's making bold moves, but he's clearly operating as a guy who has a lot of belief, which even that might sound like silly, but you see a lot of coaches that have no idea what they're doing. What is Brian Callahan doing?
I have to give Mike McDonald credit. He took one look at that 2024 Seahawks offense and he said, I don't like this at all.
Yeah.
I don't like DK. I don't like Tyler Lockett. I don't like Geno. I don't like the offensive line. I don't like the tight end. I don't like anybody. You're all
the jerseys, don't like the stadium, don't like the city, don't like the league.
Right. He threw the bums out. I'm kidding. They're not all bums.
He's now a roving hitting instructor for the San Diego Padres.
I'll take your word for it that that's a thing. So Darnold, I think, will be worse than Geno, probably. But Clint Kubiak, the mission is simple. Put Darnold in easy situations where he can take 3 or 4 steps back and throw the ball. Beyond that, you know what you're getting, which is a lot of running around, a lot of seeing ghosts in the pocket. I know that's a joke, but it actually happened at the end of last year again. Too reminiscent of 2019 or whatever it was. And
many are saying eerily reminiscent. Didn't he?
Right. So Clint Kubiak, who called 2 good games last year with New Orleans. If he can get back to those 2 good games, I'm not kidding. I mean, he showed something, and so if he can get back to the cool stuff, the pre-snap motion, keeping defenses off guard, using a lot of play action, maybe they can get away with it with Darnold. I think this is going to end up looking pretty bad.
Clint had 2 good games. Darnold had 2 bad games. That cancels each other out.
That's analytics.
They're all normal games from here on out. Yeah, he'll be worse statistically. I think we just take that for granted. I guess it's a matter if he can manipulate and manage the offense. He's never manipulated an offense well.
From a fantasy standpoint, listen to this.
It's over.
Only 3 quarterbacks last year had more passing fantasy points than Sam Darnold.
Sickening.
That's pretty crazy.
That's sickening. We have a broken game. We have a broken game, Denny. Fantasy football is broken. I am broken. I wanted Davante Adams to go somewhere where he was the clear-cut number one receiver. Instead of yet another. So listen, the smart teams, we get it. You're smart. But can you stop being so smart where you're like, I don't know, maybe we should just put two really good elite players together and not worry about it? Because fantasy managers are like, oh my God. Now Davante and Puka are sharing targets, and they both could have been like 180 target players. But the Rams are smart. They know that having more good players is better than having fewer good players. So they have paired Davante Adams, 2-year, $46 million deal with Puka Nacua. So again, frustrating that he's not a clear number one, but this is a very narrow, concentrated offense. You're talking about where like the third weapon is kind of anyone's guess, and the Rams are like, this is Tutu Atwell. Maybe it's Jordan Whittington. Maybe it's a tight end. Are there enough targets to go around for both Puka and Davante, since it's such a narrow, concentrated offense, and since Sean McVay has proven to be so good at funneling looks to his best players?
When Cooper Kupp was healthy, in the rare circumstances where you've seen Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua healthy together on the field for the Rams, it has been an almost absurdly concentrated passing attack. Okay. Like reminiscent of like Devontae Smith and AJ Brown in Philadelphia, where the ball is really only going to them, maybe sometimes Dallas Goedert, and that's the list of people who are going to see the ball. I think we're going to see that. I think that's what we're set up for, is just, lots of games where Nacua and Adams combine for like a 60% target share, something along those lines. So I know what you're saying. Like, it would be cool if Adams were in a place where he could have 180 targets locked in. He doesn't have that here, but it probably has 150, which is pretty good. And I think it also might make Matthew Stafford somewhat interesting from, from a super flex standpoint or whatever eventually. I can see you're skeptical on that. But Nacua, like I mentioned last week, like a black hole for targets. Like, his ability to command targets against man coverage, against zone coverage, second to none. So Adams does have his work cut out for him in actually getting some looks his way.
We're still clearly drafting Puka Nacua ahead of Davante Adams, right? I haven't seen really any suggestion to the contrary. Is Davante going to be like undervalued just because he's old and last year was kind of weird? Because we know the advanced stats show he was still pretty efficient, still pretty great. Will he end up being undervalued, or is he just going to be like very properly valued and there'll be no discount on Davante?
So I would guess that both Puka and Davante will take a little bit of a hit ADP wise because of this. And not much. I'm not saying, Puka's going to fall down draft boards, but I'm saying that, maybe Puka goes to like wide receiver 4 or 5 off the board because they say, well, Adams is there, so he's not elite anymore. And vice versa. Well, Puka's there, so Adams is never going to see the ball. And these are, I could see overreactions for on both players this year.
Or maybe it'll just be like rocket ship. I think you're right. I think both will probably take a tiny bit of it, maybe at least to start. It could end up rocket ship territory for both of them because it's just such a narrow offense. By the way, the move is really good too, not just from a more good players are better than fewer good players perspective. Puka, special talent that he is, like if you could turn injuries off, maybe they don't make this move. But I'm sure it's in the back of their mind, like, is Puka Nacua going to play 17 games? We cannot get caught, holding the bag if Puka's out. And like Davante, not that Davante Adams is ever a fallback option. Like, he does cover that base, or if Puka gets hurt again, we still have a genuine alpha number one wideout. So just a very fundamentally sound football.
That's actually a great point. Puka has a play style that does not lend itself to full seasons.
No, it does not. I mean, please let it do so. But Stafford, man, I don't know. I think I'm out on Stafford completely after he looked off. I was getting Mark Brunell end stage vibes last year. Like, this dude can't take a hit.
No, he can't. And they can keep him clean all they want, but eventually he's just a sitting duck back there taking rib shots. Once in a while.
So I've never seen a player take more rib shots than Matthew Stafford.
Also,
absolutely loves to get torpedoed in the ribs.
And he wears the flak jacket,
he does.
So maybe that's not working as well as he thought. Also, Matthew, if you're listening, stop hitting your fingers on your offensive linemen's helmets.
What is that all about? Not as offensive line and oncoming pass rushers too. I've never seen more fingers get jammed on
every time there's people in his face, whether it's his own offensive linemen or pass rushers. The guy throws it and comes away holding his finger, and his finger's bent backwards or something. It's crazy.
Speaking of a re-showing of a 30 for 30 on ESPN News at like 9 p.m. on a Friday night, in 2033, I'm going to see Matthew Stafford say, I got every rib replaced. I got every finger replaced.
Right.
I got, bones you never even heard of replaced.
Right.
Damn, this is messed up.
Through the power of AI, Stafford played another 8 seasons.
Why am I even watching this? I probably should go upstairs and help with bedtime. This is kind of just depressing me. Denny, what's kind of just depressing everyone, except for DK Metcalf, is DK Metcalf to the Steelers, where, listen, he went 1 for 3. He wanted warm weather. He wanted a good team. He wanted $30 million per year. 1 out of 3, I guess we'll take that. But, man. So the conventional wisdom reaction to this move is that it's catastrophic for DK Metcalf because he's a duplicative talent with Mr. George Pickens. We don't even know who the quarterback's going to be. You might know by the time you hear the show, but a conservative offense. I don't know. Basically, what's your take on George Pickens, the Steelers? Is it as bad as it appears at first blush, or is there secret fantasy value lurking here for Mr. DK?
Well, I did have a stat about how Justin Fields supported DJ Moore in 2023, but that's no longer viable since Fields is in New York. And I will say that Metcalf and Pickens both take a hit. I think they both profile as highly volatile week-to-week plays. Is there a chance that both of them become underdrafted because it's just such a gross environment in Arthur Smith's offense, in the Steelers stadium, which is not really great for scoring points because it's windy and the grass.
What is up with that? Like, how can a stadium actually like that stadium? It's like when you're watching a baseball game, like left-handed power hitters are just screwed here, John. Like, how is a football stadium like that?
Why is the grass so long? Can someone mow the grass?
Is there also like a single green blade of grass? It's like September 28th, and it's like, the grass here at Acrisure Stadium, if that's what it's called, it's been dead since June. They just stopped watering it in June for some reason.
Can we get better playing surface? Can we get a dome? Is what I'm asking. Anyway, look, it's not great. It's for fantasy. It's really, really not great. I think some fantasy managers might like outsmart themselves here and be like, well, everybody's out on DK, so I'm in. I think you might be overthinking it, honestly.
Well, that's the one positive outcome is the overreaction principle is very real in fantasy where no one can even debate that it's a downgrade. Obviously, it's a downgrade for DK Metcalf, but it can be easy to overrate how big of a downgrade something like if a player is good, he might still get pretty decent fantasy numbers. But DK by the end of last year was struggling to post weekly wide receiver 3 numbers. George Pickens was actually kind of struggling to post even wide receiver 4 numbers. They both did not have good second halves. And DK, he is used to target competition. I guess that's a plus. We're used to DK Metcalf in a crowded receiver core, but we're not really used to him in a low volume passing attack anymore. We got used to like higher volume Seahawks passing attacks. And it is really, really hard to find the silver linings other than DK's good. It'll be fine.
Man, I don't know how our guy George is going to react to all this.
DK.
Metcalf bought into this situation. Like he made the situation happen. Whereas George Pickens last year was making noise during the trade deadline when they were talking about maybe acquiring another receiver because they needed receiver help because they only had Pickens. I think Pickens obviously likes being that guy. And you throw Aaron Rodgers into this mix potentially. I'm going to call it toxic. I'm going to call it not good.
Like if you're 2 shot play specialists, you do not want to be competing with another shot play specialist as the primary target.
It's actually makes me mad that they did this because now you have 2 boundary receivers, just jump balls all season. Like that's not the modern NFL, man. I feel like Tomlin, as good of a leader as he is, and a good of a coach, he needs to farm some of this stuff out because this sort of personnel decision making is not great.
It's gotten painful. We'll see if Aaron Rodgers has joined the Steelers by the time we talk on Thursday with Kyle. We have a lot more to talk about when we come back right after this. All eyes will be on Scotty Scheffler as he aims for a third Players' Championship in a row, something no other PGA Tour golfer has ever accomplished. Watch the final rounds this weekend on NBC and Peacock. So, Denny, you mentioned it. Justin Fields to New York. You didn't say which New York. Our listeners been like, "Come on, which New York?
Which one?"
Talking about? Yeah, I haven't been on social media or rotoworld.com all week, and Denny's been teasing us when it's the Jets. Justin Fields has gone to the Jets. 2 years, $40 million. I mean, I know, this is a weird one. This is a really weird one, is all I can say. Clearly starting money. He's not Taysom Fields. He's quarterback Justin Fields. Is there hope, or is it just more of the same old for a guy who does some big plays and doesn't do much else? What is your initial take on Justin Fields to the Jets?
Here's a stat, and I wrote up all the free agency moves and trades.
Check
kind of a rolling article that you can check out on the site.
We should have led the show with that. It's really, really good. Check it out.
Thank you. So Justin Fields, from the start of 2023 until he lost his job to Russell Wilson in 2024, which I know is a big caveat. No quarterback had more rushing yards than Justin Fields.
Wow.
Not Lamar Jackson, not Josh Allen, not anyone. So that makes him an intrigue for fantasy purposes anywhere he goes, even a Jets offense that is probably not going to be very good. And I'm trying to be as kind as possible. So from a personal standpoint, like just Justin Fields in a vacuum, I think this can work because he has a starting job, and that means he's going to be running, and that means he's going to be producing fantasy points on the ground, and rushing fantasy points is a cheat code for quarterbacks, as you know. For anybody else, I don't really know. I don't think it's great for Garrett Wilson. I think, they were teammates at Ohio State, but for me, it's kind of so what. I mean, Justin Fields has regressed each of the past 2 seasons in key passing metrics, including intermediate targets, intermediate throws. So I don't think this is great for Garrett Wilson, even if he is a target hog in this offense.
Yeah, Fields is just not a good thrower of the football.
He's not.
I guess if you're Garrett Wilson, you can maybe hang your hat on, like DJ Moore. We were waiting over half a decade for the breakout. And against all odds, he did do it with Justin Fields. Had like an alpha wide receiver 1 season. So he at least has had that on his resume. At some point, he supported like a high-end wide receiver 1 campaign. But a big problem for me here is, we got the Jets they're running like a Lions coaching staff system where it's Aaron Glenn as the head coach, brought over Tanner Ingstrand as the offensive coordinator. But talk about someone who does not have Jared Goff's skill set, Justin Fields. So it's like very difficult to say what the offense is even going to be. I guess it's going to be really run heavy. That's a Lions pedigree. And of course, all the running back talent on this Jets roster. But I feel like we don't even really know what this offense is going to be. And so with the rushing threat, though, so real. You might not feel great about it. Does it make Justin Fields, though, just an absolute set and forget top 12 QB1 day?
Yeah.
Like, don't overthink it. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, but
he'll be the last cheat code quarterback off the board probably, and that makes him very appealing for me. He could outscore a lot of guys.
Yeah, let's say this: Justin Fields, Denny, or Bo Nix in 2025 fantasy.
Fields.
Justin Fields or the dreaded Kyler Murray?
Fields over Murray.
Easily. Justin Fields or Patrick Le'Veon Mahomes?
Yes. Thank you for saying it. Fields, obviously.
Stop. I think it's Levon. I said Le'Veon. But no, stop.
What?
Stop the show.
Wait a second.
Stop the show. Fields over Mahomes? Come on.
Yeah.
They're talking about Mahomes derangement syndrome.
Are you
even going to play 17 games, Fields? Be real.
Okay. I mean, yeah. Like he suffers a knee injury in week 3, and of course it looks terrible. But 17 games, he comfortably outscores Mahomes. We got to make some sort of bet on this.
Fields or Goff?
Goff.
Wow, sickening.
I know.
I don't like anything about that.
Seahawks.
Well, sorry, you ruined the transition. Sorry,
I'm really sorry. Little bit of cope on Fields. His on target throw rate last year, 70%. That's in line with Jaden Daniels. It's in line with Jared Goff. So
gonna say I don't like anything about that. Seahawks fans do not like anything about Geno Smith to the Raiders. Apparently, I've never seen people more in mourning for like a more league average player. Yeah, he's fine, like totally fine.
I mean, he's a very fine player.
He's a very fine. I mean, maybe you could say he's good. I'm not sure I'd go that far. He's not bad. Geno Smith is not bad. I'll say this, but like the classic, like sitting around at a bar, conceit. Like you're not gonna ever. There's 340 million people in America. You would not find anyone at any bar anywhere in the USA is like, man, I just wish Pete Carroll and Geno Smith would get back together, man. Like, I miss the good old days.
Oh,
they
man.
took from us, Pete and Geno. Can someone get these two back together before it's too late?
Tom Brady did it.
Tom Brady has reunited Geno Smith and Pete Carroll. The cavalry otherwise has not arrived. Really, really limited supporting cast. Maybe the offensive line is going to be better than his Seahawks offensive line for Geno. But do we like anything better than his guy's been regressing for 2 years, modestly off his fluke 2022 career year. Is there anything we like better about Geno's setup in Vegas than Seattle? Chip Kelly, fresh off a national title at Ohio State, is the offensive coordinator.
Whatever Geno does this year, he's going to be Dan Marino compared to Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. Like that's like very clear right now to me. You're talking about one of the most accurate passers in the NFL. And I know that this is the disconnect, right? He checks all the analytics boxes. There may not be people at bars in the United States talking about Geno Smith, but there are a bunch of people behind spreadsheets on their laptops talking about Geno Smith.
They are.
And
maybe sometimes in coffee shops, if not bars.
Maybe coffee shops in Seattle. But that's it. I said to someone the other day online, I would not group Geno Smith with the elite quarterbacks. And they said, well, that's where you're wrong. And it made me think. I said he's good. I like conceded. Oh, no, he's good. He's good. Don't worry. I'm not saying he's not good. He's like, no, you haven't gone far enough. He's elite.
It's weird. I've really never seen anything like it. The Geno Hive is like, man, they remember too.
Oh,
like they're I don't know how somehow they're allowed to lurk in my yard. Honestly, they're not too bad. They don't like look in the window or anything, but it's kind of weird. They've been trying to intimidate me. I don't know if I'm intimidated though. Yeah.
I've gotten a lot of prank calls from the Geno Hive over the past 48 hours. I haven't liked it. I mean, look, he's since the start of the 2022 season when he took over as starter in Seattle, ranks 12th out of 32 qualifying quarterbacks in dropback success rate, 19th in EPA. Only Baker Mayfield and Joe Burrow have been more accurate with the on-target percentage that I was talking about earlier. So, like, Brock Bowers is, like, live as a first-round pick. I was a little skeptical before this, but with Geno, a healthy season from Geno, and Brock Bowers is worth a first-round pick, I think.
He is. But so, Denny, by the way, you and I, we came of age in, like, the pre-internet era where some of the only people left alive who have memories of time for the internet. For me, is very limited. You and I tend to lament the passing of a lot of different things. One thing I do not miss at all is prank calls. Thank God prank calls are gone. And prank calls were a weird, stressful thing, I always thought.
Well, they went away with the advent of caller ID.
They did. And I never wanted to be party to them. My friends were, let's prank. I'm like, no, dude, leave me out of this, man. This makes
I know. I was party to a couple, and we immediately got called out because it's like it's 1996 and we have a caller ID.
Yeah, no, prank calls were one thing that needed to go. You know who else needed to go from the Pittsburgh Steelers was Najee Harris, but I would have argued he needed to go nowhere. I would not have signed Najee Harris, but then the far too obvious thing happened. Najee Harris signed with the Los Angeles Chargers and Jim Harbaugh. I saw NBC Bay Area's Matt Mayoko report that Jim Harbaugh recruited Najee Harris in high school. He literally worked the chain gang at one of Najee Harris's high school games. So this has apparently been like a 9-year obsession for Jim Harbaugh. Reported as a $9 million deal. It's really actually only a $5 million deal. That is, even today, that is like not like clear cut, like this guy's getting all the work. But it's 1A money for sure with Najee Harris. But it's like, how much run heavier of a system can Najee Harris be in than he already was? And like kind of anything for Najee was going to be a lateral move at best. Is this even a lateral move, or is it all downhill from here for Najee? What is your initial take on Najee Harris to the Los Angeles Chargers.
I wanted to say, well, he's in a run-heavy offense, but that's not necessarily the case. And we documented this throughout last year, where coming out of around their mid-season bye week, LA was pretty pass-heavy, and so
my pushback might be they'll just say that's because we didn't have Najee Harris. It's because they had no one. Sure. They didn't have absolutely no one. It might have been two. Sure. Even Jim Harbaugh might have had to acknowledge, like, we can't run the ball with these people.
But also Jim Harbaugh thinks Justin Herbert is like one of the greatest players ever. So maybe they'll lean on him. I don't know. I will say that Harris should have the RB1 role here. Pretty easily.
It'd be an upset if he doesn't. It would be a huge upset if he didn't.
I'm torn because part of me desperately doesn't want to fall for the thing where you say, he's going to see all the carries. He's going to see all the touches. I'm going to take him.
But he doesn't. It never matters.
Right. I mean, it's possible that he does, and you're correct. Like, your thesis going into the season that he's going to see all the touches is correct, and it didn't work. But there's also a scenario, I think, where he's running a lot of routes, 50%, 60% of the routes. He's seeing a decent target share, right? And so he can kind of get by PPR-wise. I mean, standard different. I'm not talking about standard, but PPR-wise, he can get by with 2 or 3, 4 receptions a game, and we look silly fading him. So we'll have to see how they talk about him going into the season. But the contract itself doesn't say to me that they're all in on Harris.
No, the contract is something that was very true. They needed someone who could carry the ball because they had just absolutely no one who could carry the ball. I would argue it still should not have been Najee Harris. But as producer Adam points out, a huge selling point has to be the fact that Najee's never missed a game, or they had a really banged up, ineffective backfield last year. But listeners of the show are probably already tired of hearing me say this stat since I discovered it last week. I just cannot get over it. He played an entire rookie contract, 1,097 carries, and never once had a 40-yard carry. He had 5 30-yard carries in 4 years. Like, I know he's not being paid or signed to be like the breakaway running back, but I feel like to be a starting running back in the NFL, you have to have some breakaway ability.
Like a little juice.
He's a fullback. Like, you cannot go 4 years and not have a single 40-yard run. It's like actually insane.
1,100 carries and 5 that went for over 30. I mean, that's
basically broke my brain. Like, again, listen, I understand like your niche is not being the breakaway back, but if you're the level of athlete who's a starting NFL running back, I'm sorry, you need to occasionally score a 60-yard touchdown.
I mean, it happens on accident.
Like, exactly. I know. I guess maybe it might happen on accident with the Chargers because J.K. Dobbins was ripping long touchdowns.
Yeah,
last year.
It's a good offensive line. I
will never fall for it again with Najee Harris. I don't care if it's Jim Harbaugh. I don't care if it's Newt Rockne. Like, there is no ADP at which Najee Harris is.
I would
stop.
I wouldn't say that.
Fell for it again award.
I mean, I'm okay falling for it if it's like the 9th round or something.
No, you're not. It ruins your team. Instant.
It doesn't
ruin it. It does. Your team's over. It's done.
I mean, I'm gonna be hungry for carries the way I draft teams. So, yeah. I don't know. I will. Okay. The Chargers were top 5 in pass rate over expected over the second half of the season last year.
Throw that in the trash. All that's just because they didn't have a running back. I really think that's why.
I don't know, man.
Throwing it in the trash.
They love Herbert. You think they're gonna not lean on Herbert?
Yeah, you know why? He threw more interceptions in one playoff game than he did all year. Harbaugh's like, all right, never mind. That was cool.
So you think just because Justin Herbert played the worst game in NFL history, literally by EPA, the worst game ever against the Texans, you think that's going to affect them going forward? I think that's actually a good idea.
It might be. Apparently, it was a good idea for the Bucs to re-sign Chris Godwin. Heavily sought after free agent, even coming off his really gruesome dislocated ankle, second major injury he suffered during his NFL career after a torn ACL a few years ago. But he was a hot name, a hot commodity. One of the only guys who was kind of generating like pre-free agency rumors. The Bucs really wanted him back though, and he apparently really wanted to be back with the Bucs. It's a good offense, Denny, but it's an aging Mike Evans. They're having to create ever more elaborate contortions to get Mike Evans 1,000 yards. I know this is apparently sort of sickened you to your core at the end of last season. We have the injured Godwin. We have the ascending Jalen McMillan. I feel like it's kind of a messy fantasy situation. Let's just start here. We don't really know the ADPs yet. There are ADPs out there. Which Bucs wide receiver would you be most interested in drafting in 2025?
I guess right now it has to be Evans because like Godwin might not be ready, or might need some like runway into like a full complement of routes and snaps in the Bucs offense. But I mean, being gouged by the Bucs for upwards of $20 million says to me that they want to stay together, and he's going to resume his regular role in the offense. And as we said last week or the week before, it's hard to say, career highs in a lot of key metrics, including yards after the catch per reception. So he's not nearly like washed at all. I know it feels like
that was one dislocated ankle ago.
Yeah, right. True, and that could play a factor here. But it feels like he's been playing for the Bucs, for 15 years.
Jimmy Carter
came into the league very young, so that matters. But I would take Evans. By the way, this whole Jalen McMillan, it's over. Like the McMillan thing's over now that Godwin's back.
Stop.
It's over. They don't like.
It wasn't even over last year.
They don't like that guy.
You see, Randy Moss said he was the best young receiver to come in the NFL.
Yeah, no, I mean he's probably good, but Todd Bowles is like, I'm not. The kid's got to learn.
Thought Todd Bowles has changed, man. You got to adjust your priors in Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles is like defense. Like I thought defense was cool. Defense sucks. Defense is over. We don't do defense anymore.
Todd Bowles learned 3 letters, EPA.
He did. You watched a few YouTube Baker Mayfield cut-ups. Like, we got to cut this guy loose, man.
Right, yeah. This guy runs around like he wants to go to the hospital. We got to get with this guy.
I'm still going to be drafting Jalen McMillan. Mike Evans is getting weirder every year. I haven't drafted Mike Evans since like 2017. Like one of these years, it'll be right.
As long as Evans can get his 1,000 yards, that's all we care about.
That's all we care about. All we care about is taking a short break and coming back right after this. This summer is your chance to catch the Premier League in the United States of America. Manchester United, Bournemouth, Everton, and West Ham take the pitch across the country. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit premierleague.com/summer series. Big summer for soccer, as always.
I'll be there
as we get ready to host the 2026 World Cup, though not in St. Louis. They're lost, Denny.
Where is it?
It's all over. I couldn't list them all. The final is in the Meadowlands.
Is it in DC?
No, no. I don't think DC has a proper stadium right now.
Okay.
It actually might be. I don't know. Look it up. You can Google it. I can Google what team Daniel Jones plays for. It's now the Colts. Denny, he's getting. Sorry, this seemed funnier before the show. He's getting 140 million dimes to play for the Colts. $14 million for the dimesman. 140 mil in dimes. He's insisting on being paid in them.
You took the joke right out of my mouth.
The truckload is buckling the Interstate 70 in Indy is an absolute shambles as they deliver the dimes to Daniel Jones. I mean, to talk about shambles, everyone should be in shambles. This one to me is very grim, very, very grim. Like, why have the season? Seriously, why have the quarterback competition, quote unquote, is Daniel Jones versus Anthony Richardson? Like, stop it.
Be serious.
We used to be a serious country. Just stop it. This is not serious. This is not serious.
Well,
and who's starting? Just take us through what's going on.
If Richardson can't beat out Jones for the week 1 job, then it's safe to say it's completely over.
Or it's just safe to say it's horrific Colts mismanagement. I think Anthony Richardson's a bust, but he has never known a good coaching staff, I guess I'll say.
And also 15. He's played in 15 games. 15. Okay. And like 30 games since COVID. Like it's insane the amount of time that he's been on the field. So I mean, just the larger contours here. James Boyd of The Athletic said a few weeks ago that the Colts are very interested in Jones, in part because he's a mobile quarterback who can kind of keep the offense going in the Richardson vein, and they don't have to change it too much. Because see, you remember last year when they were juggling back and forth between Flacco and Richardson, they had to keep changing the offense, right?
Not smart.
And it went from a massively pass heavy drop back offense with Flacco to the most conservative run-based offense under Richardson. So I think they're going to try to just keep it, the same between these two quarterbacks. I would say that there's a really good chance of both of them getting significant playing time this year. And, Jones is a better passer. So maybe that's what Shane Steichen's looking for.
That's what's really bad for Anthony Richardson is that Daniel Jones is inarguably a better passer. And Daniel Jones is inarguably a better passer than like 5 people in the NFL.
I know it's true.
It's really bad. It's just, to me, this is just not serious. To me, this is the end of the line. It's like, why this? You should have fired Chris Ballard 2 years ago. Like you got to try something else. And Anthony Richardson, I just don't think the young man can throw, but I wish I could have just seen him with a serious coaching staff at some point. Not even that the Colts have like an offensively bad coaching staff. This is like a totally league average coaching staff. And you were never going to unlock a unique player like Anthony Richardson with a league average coaching staff. Like you needed like the genius kids. You needed a Shani, blah, blah, blah. It was never going to happen with just like an ordinary coaching staff.
I had hope for Shane Steichen. I thought he knew what's up, but I don't think
he might. It could also just be like the Ursay vortex. Like no one comes out alive.
No one comes out of Ursay's van or whatever it was. It
was the bathroom. He very famously wrecked a bathroom. Sorry, I shouldn't.
No one comes out of that the same. Richardson, by the way, last year the lowest on target rate of any quarterback in the league, including Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I mean, that's tough. That's tough to overcome. Yes, he's actually a really effective rusher when he can stay healthy, right? And he did, last year, over the last 4 or 5 games, he stayed healthy, really good on the ground, very effective red zone weapon, particularly for the Colts. But the passing never improved. And from a fantasy standpoint, I think if you have Josh Downs or Michael Pittman, I think you want Jones under center.
You do, and I don't think Anthony Richardson's ever quite proven he can hold up to the rigors of taking those hits as a dual threat quarterback either. So just so many different red flags for Anthony Richardson. So by the way, you should Google Josh McDaniels, Jim Irsay. Just if you've forgotten that story, it's a rather delightful one. You should look it up. I said this was a grim quarterback situation. Is it more grim than Kenny Pickett maybe being the Browns starter? I mean, it could be a classic situation where they're trying to pair him with the number 2 overall pick. But Kenny Pickett might actually start for the Browns, I guess. Do we think his 1 year in Eagles reform school worked for him? What are our takes on Kenny Pickett to the Cleveland Browns?
He was actually okay in his very limited playing time last year. The metrics were not entirely hateful of Kenny Pickett, but no, man, this is not good. He can't be the starter. They cannot go into the season with him as the starter. They would have been better with just sticking with Jameis, honestly. I mean, at least Jameis can make plays. Like Kenny Pickett can't make plays. Also, Kenny Pickett has, not making jokes here, but he has the small hands. He has to wear the gloves in the punishing fall and winter of Cleveland. That
punishing summer. The hottest day in Cleveland is 73.
Summer is 36 hours long.
Again, I think I already made this. Cleveland is somehow re-glaciating. The one spot in the entire world where glaciers are growing instead of retreating.
Yeah, it's amazing. We are looking into that.
We're looking, but I don't know, man. Kenny Pickett. The only thing I can say is it's Kevin Stefanski. Stefanski's been a quarterback whisperer.
Yeah.
The supporting cast is bleak, though. Like, no offense to Jerry Jeudy, who, man, did I need Jerry Jeudy last year. Jerry Jeudy did me several solids in fantasy football, but it's kind of a hard situation to even talk about. You can't really talk about the Browns quarterback situation until the draft is over.
Yeah, I think that would be the time to have that talk.
Who scores more fantasy points next year, Daniel Jones or Kenny Pickett?
Yeah, I mean Jones. Yeah.
The dimesman for sure. We were going to talk about Elijah. I think we'll save Elijah Mitchell for Thursday. Hopefully we had more running back signings. We can have a longer running back segment with Mr. Kyle Dvorak. We'll end on Aaron Jones. He was one of the big skill player names of free agency, but it's kind of nothing happened. He returned to the Vikings. He's back. The quarterback is not back. They've talked about it wanting it to be more of a committee. They want it to be more of a committee because Aaron Jones did something last year he almost never does, which was appear in every single game. But it was at a cost. He got hurt a lot down the stretch. He was far less efficient down the stretch. I think it is smart to make this more of a committee backfield, Denny. Kind of like, is there no other take for Aaron Jones than, yeah, he can't replicate that season. And that was cool, but do not count on Aaron Jones repeating 2024 and 2025. Or do you have a counter take?
I think it could be similar. I think JJ McCarthy could be just as good as Sam Darnold was last year. I know that probably is not like super hopeful for Vikings fans, but Darnold was good. So let's, got to hand it to him. If they have the same sort of game script on their side, because man, the Vikings had a lot of neutral and positive game script. One of the highest rates in the league as far as that goes. That really helped fuel volume and fuel positive situations for Aaron Jones. And he took advantage, to his credit. So not super efficient for Aaron Jones, especially as a pass catcher. But I think, you could do worse at RB2.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. If you can do worse at RB2, that means you have to take someone else. Like, take the opportunity to maybe do worse. Because when you can do worse, there's an implication that you could do better.
You could do better.
You could do better. I will
say that.
When you say you could do worse, what you're really saying is you could do better.
You're right. You read between the lines, Pat.
So Aaron Jones. I mean, do I like any of these guys? I don't like the Darnold thing. Davante, I do like. Don't like DK. Fields, you like it. Don't like the Geno. Najee, Godwin.
I
don't like any of it. I don't like any of it.
I like. I mean, I'm not deranged about Geno, but I think it's fine.
I think some people might accuse you of being deranged on Geno. They're upset. You need to address them. They're gathered. They're peaceful, but they're gathered in your front yard.
Well, look, I'm deranged in the positive direction on Geno. To them, I'm deranged in the negative direction on Geno. So
I've been giving my Geno protesters water and granola bars.
I mean, that's nice. That's nice. That's how we do it here.
That's been keeping them satiated. We hope we kept you satiated with fantasy football takes. Still a lot more to come this week on Rotoworld.com. We're blurbing every signing. Denny's writing up every signing in his rolling reactions article. I had an article to begin the week on Davante Adams and DK Metcalf. Check that out. We're going to be writing it all up, blurbing it all up, blogging it all up, and podcasting it all up on Thursday with Kyle Dvorak. So for Denny Carter, I'm Patrick Daugherty. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back with you in 48 hours.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.